talk about the DCE extension. First of all, I would like to ask you, who of you knows the DCE extension and maybe have already worked with it? Please raise your hands. Okay. Less than expected. Good that you are here. So I'm able to show you what this extension is able to do for you. I split this presentation in 3 major parts. In the first part, I would like to talk generally about the DCE extension. In the second part, I would like to show you live how to work with the DCE extension with a simple example. And in the third part, I would like to talk about the future of the DCE extension. What are my plans for the future? First, some facts about myself. My name is Armin Vieweg. I'm a developer and team leader assistant in Sansinet AG in Cologne. I'm 30 years old, and maybe you have already seen some of my extensions I have published in tier. The most popular extension is the DCE extension, the reason why you're here today. I'm a little bit nervous. I hope this is okay. My first presentation in English. The idea behind the DCE extension. DCE stands for Dynamic Content Elements. And as you might mention, it is inspired by FCEs from TemplaVoila. And this is also the reason why I have created this extension, because I did not like TemplaVoila, and this FCE feature inside of TemplaVoila, there's no alternative for it. Now there is an alternative called DCE. With other features like backend layouts or grid elements, you are able to replace TemplaVoila for future installations, for example. Something generally about content elements in Typo 3. Typo 3 has just a few basic content elements which you can work with. And it is almost impossible to create new content elements without programming skills. If you would like to give the editors, also your customers, the ability to create custom content elements, you often use the layout or the section frame attribute for different kind of how it should look like, but this is not really easy for the editor because he has to know that if I would like to create, for example, an employee content element, I have to select in layout 3, or you can rename it, and section frame whatever. This is not really easy for the editor. Another way to create custom content elements is to abuse the RTE field using tables and stuff like that. This is not really nice, and the editor has too much flexibility, so he's not able. So he can destroy maybe the layout or the CI of the website, whatever. And another point, if you would like to edit the rendering in front end of content elements, you need to do this by editing TypoScript, and this may be sometimes be pain in the ass a little bit. Yeah, if you're not so familiar with TypoScript, this is the DCE approach. Who is this which people is this extension for? It's primary, of course, for developers, but I tried to keep it very simple, so also integrators are able to use this extension. We will see it later. And maybe intermediate front-end developers who knows a little bit about the Typo 3, how Typo 3 works, what TCA is, something like that. The goals of the extension, simply easy creation of new content elements. And with as many configurable fields as you want and you need, and your editor, your customer need. And the the possibility to render it in front end very easily. With XBase and Fluid template, the Fluid template engine has been introduced, which is, in my opinion, very easy to use. It's very similar to other well-known templating engines. And yeah, you can use this easy template engine Fluid 2 for rendering content elements in front end. And of course, if your editor does not need to know which layout he has to select and which section frame he has to select or whatever he has to select, the learning curve for your editor is much higher because you have to, for example, an employee, you have to create a new content element employee and enter the fields, and that's it. And the rendering in front end will be created automatically. So now I would like to start with the second part, with the DCE features and the live demonstration. I show you quickly the 3 sheets of features, and then I show you something. Yeah, you can create as many fields and tabs as you want. So you can arrange the fields, you can name them, you can give them variables, and of course you can tell the system what type of fields you want to use. At this point, this schema loading is a bit special and one of my favorite features of the extension, by the way. You have a special handling for group and select fields. I will show it to you later. You can create sections, which means you can create a group, you can create section fields, and then you can say, okay, I would like to create a new section with these 3 fields. For example, I show it to you later. This, yeah, is better. You can define a whole different template in front end for your DCE. This feature is called detail page. It's triggered by a get parameter, which you can also define. And if this get parameter is set, the content element is rendered differently. Yeah, easy templating is one of the most important things, in my opinion. It should be easy to create the rendering like you want. And you have also the possibility to, in backend, to tell the content element some information. Also it's a header and the body text field in the table TT content, and you can define them completely like you want, also with Fluid. And 2 more features left. You have also a small user condition, which checks if the current page contains an DCE, and then you can deliver CSS, JavaScript, just if it's necessary. And you have a very comfortable import-export using the imp-exp extension in Typo 3 core. The TT content elements, which are based on a DCE, have a relation to the DCE itself. So if you export a page with content elements, the import exporter shows you also the relation to the DCE itself. Yeah, these are the main features. Now I would like to jump with you in the Typo 3 backend. Very nervous, by the way. Yeah, I've got here a small sample page with not much content. I have here some, this is our company, for example. I have here some references, project ABC, and now I would like to fill this employee section. But we have no employee content element yet. So when you are logged in backend and you have the DCE extension installed, you find here on the left side, under admin tools, a small DCE button. Access to DCE have only administrators. So editors may use content elements based on DCEs, but they may not change the fields or the templates. Yeah, this takes longer than expected. Okay. So you create a new content DCE, and we give it a name, employee, for example, and some fields, as much as we want. for example, a name and an image and bio. Now we have to define also variables. They have to be unique for this DCE. And the configuration. The configuration is based on flex forms, which is XML. To make it easier for you, you have this drop-down here, where you have some predefined examples of field types, grouped by the type itself. For example, the name should be a simple input field. And now you see this. I think if you have ever coded with TemplaVoila, you have seen this before, probably also in an array syntax. But FlexForms uses XML. So this is also now a field which is required. The image should be file upload. And bio should be an RTE, however. Okay. You see, you can, of course, change all these settings like you want. Now we save this and go to the employees page, create a new content element, and now you see, nothing changed here, but when you add a content element and you open this type dropdown, you will see in a new subgroup, dynamic content elements, our employee. So we create it. And now you see all these fields we defined before, name, image, and bio. And let's fill something in. I do here some text formatations. So now when we update the page in front end, you see this. Your template goes here. Yeah, of course, we did not have changed the output, which you find here in the template tab. So we would like to make, for example, a field set. And now we want to output some of our entered data, of course. Now at this place, you have also this magic drop-down box, which helps you a lot. You see the previous entered variables here, and by clicking on it, they will added automatically. Of course, this is now inline in backend, the templating thing. You can also do this in files, and export them,versionize them, whatever you want. So okay, now we have the name in an H2 tag. And let's refresh the front end. And now you see, okay, this seems to work. Let's create another one. Also, of course, I have to change the type. So. Now we add another property to this DCE to show you how flexible the rendering in front end is. We make the property is pretty. And choose a simple checkbox for this field. Now let's edit my colleague. And you see, okay, the checkbox appears directly. When we change this and close this record, now you see how content elements look like in backend. Per default, the headline, this bold line here, shows the value of the first field, and the body text shows a list of all other fields with the values. This, especially when you have very complex DCEs, this becomes very long. I show you later how you can edit it. Okay, now we have Stephanie is pretty, yes, but of course now changing in front end. Let's also output the image. This is an own image view helper, which I deliver with the DCE extension, which is basically like the original image view helper, but works also in backend. The original one somehow does not work in backend always. So we have field name, image. We told TemplaVoila to store uploaded images or selected images from FileMan to upload pics. So we have to prepend this path, and let's do it by drop-down box image. And in alt tag is also, in alt tag we could also use, for example, the name. So now the images will be displayed when, yeah, ///. Thanks. Very big. Of course, yeah, okay. We reduce it to 200 pixels, for example. Okay. So this works well. Now we have this is pretty tag set for Stephanie. So I would like to do an if condition. In this dropdown, you not just find the available variables you have predefined. You see also some view helpers, the famous view helpers from Fluid itself, and all DCE delivered view helpers. In this case, I would like to do an if condition. If field is pretty, then I would like to increase the image size. So we set her to is pretty, and you see it works. So you can give your editors a little bit logic by some fields, yeah, and their values. Okay. Next, I would like to show you my favorite feature, which was this one, the schema loading. We will add a new field. Maybe let's add a tab to separate fields from each other. And create a new field in this new tab called projects. Maybe you want to show in the output of the employee in which projects he or she was involved. In our case, we have in the front end this references with subpages. Okay, so I would like to let the editor choose some pages here in this place. Oh. Okay, also you can edit. You see, you can edit each property like you want inside of the configuration. Now let's update. Doesn't matter. Okay, you see now. Okay, we have the attributes we had before. We have a general tab, and we have now this advanced tab I've created. If you want to rename the general tab, just create a tab as first field, and then it takes its name. So, and now we have a group field, like we know in TemplaVoila, and I can say, okay, Armin, we're involved in project A and project C. C. Yeah, this works. And let's do this. If this does not work, then it's in any case a TemplaVoila bug, because I'm just using the functionality which TemplaVoila gives us, and not in every case. So okay. Okay, when I output this variable now, in our template, you will, what do you think? What will be outputted? UIDs, yeah, comma separated list of UIDs. And this is not very helpful for us, of course. We would like to work with records, with rows from database. So let's wrap this in another very helpful view helper, the debug view helper. Every time you are not sure what values some fields contains, just use the debug view helper, and then you have a very pretty output of the variable. Okay, we have two content elements. She has no projects, and I have two projects, page number 12 and 14. Now the magic comes with another attribute. You just need to enter. It's called DCE load she 1. Schema. You find also an example here in this dropdown where you receive the pages as a associative array. This is just with this tag. So now when we refresh, you see, okay, we don't have anymore the comma-separated list. We have an array with a whole row. And now, of course, we can work with it in our template and can say, let's do a for each loop. For each project. And let's output the title. At this place, you have to use, of course, the attributes which the table you are using gives you. In our case, it's a title field, which we would like to output. You can also do this with news, with any other table existing in your TemplaVoila backend. And there's another cool feature. If the table you are including is an X-based table, and there's a model existing for this table and a repository, it does not return an associative array. It returns the object with all its getters and setters. And this is very helpful, especially for news, for example, from Georg Klinger. Project title. Yeah, let's do not as pretty. So now, when we output it, okay, we see perfectly the projects. You can also link them, of course, just using the UID and the link view helper in Fluid. I don't want to show you Fluid. I would like to show you the DCE extension. Maybe you have seen in the beginning when we created okay. Now you see here, this is very long. Let's edit this. This is also very easy. Go to the DCE. You don't need to access the DCE by this module. You find them also on root level in TemplaVoila when you are an administrator. And you can edit them here as well. So, in the MISC tab, you find header preview template and body text preview template. And now we can say, okay, here I would like to output the name. And here I would like to output the image using the DCE image view helper. Now I can copy it from here. And we need this, of course. Okay, this should work. Just ignore this. Okay, and as you see, it works. When you update this, these templates, there's an after-save hook which updates all content elements based on this DCE and renders this backend preview new. If you, of course, update something inside of the content element itself, it will also be updated. Yeah. You can use the whole flexibility you have also in front end using Fluid. You can work with conditions, with for each loops, whatever you want. Okay, we have also here in this DCE configuration this cool wizard tab. When we activate it, show DCE in content element wizard, then you can add this element to the wizard with a small description and with an icon. I choose now this one. And you can also upload a custom icon. I'm wondering why this error appears. And when you create a new content element now, you see I have installed the gridelements extension and this very cool feature to drag and drop new content elements. You see here our employee content element, which we can also just drag drop, and it works. Yeah. Okay, of course, now you have here in broken image, you need to wrap this with an if condition if you want to avoid this. Okay. Probably also interesting for you, the section fields. This is a relic from TemplaVoila. You can define here elements, tabs, or sections. Now let's create a new section. A section has always a title. Let's call it skills. Singular is skill, and variable name is skills. And inside of this field, I can create sub-fields, section fields, like we have created before. Skill name, and to make it interesting, small description. Or, yeah, however, description works. Let's make a simple text area here and a field here perfectly. So when you now update, edit a content element, you will see our projects from the example before, and now the new skills property. And now you can create as much skills as you want. And and also use them in the entered data in your template, of course, using a for each loop. Also, here, this button is also very nice. Now I have now 2 tabs opened, but probably you have just 1 tab and want to edit something quickly in the DCE. You can just click on this icon and have the whole properties, properties of the DCE in a new pop-up. This button is also just available for administrators. Let's make a debug, a small debug output for this project. Yes, yeah, you're right. Thanks. Where is it? Oh, so in the here. Skills. And you see now you get also a small array with the entered informations. So you can work very quickly and create very simply new content elements, and your editors has not really to know what to enter. He knows, okay, first name, last name, maybe how detailed you want it. And yeah, you just need to enter the information, and everything is rendered like you want it in front end. You have also some small possibilities to change the output itself. We have here a layout in Fluid. The default layout, you can also say, no, I don't want to wrap it. I had many requests by mail where people asked me, how can I remove this DCE thing? Just yeah, set layer to none, and then this div here will disappear. And you have also the possibility to remove this CSC default wrapping, which is typo3 standard when you're using CSS style content. Just here, click disable this wrapping, and it disappears. Also, another nice feature is you can preview your DCE in backend, so you don't need to create a new custom example entry. Okay, now the DCE default wrapping is gone. This might be useful when you're using with JavaScript libraries and want to animate them or whatever. Okay, I think this is enough for a small overview how to work with DCE extension. Just try it at home when you're back, and yeah, I think when you have questions, you can use the Forge or bugs. You can use the Forge project to report them, or write me in mail. You find it inside of the emconf in the extension. So in the last part, I would like to talk about the future of the DCE extension. First, I would like to create a new major version of DCE. I would like to say bye-bye to flex forms, because currently data you have entered in the content elements are stored in nested XML, and this is not very pretty. It's like the way TemplaVoila did it, but not the way how it should work in the future. I would like to also to say a DCE is more a package. Currently, you can create DCEs as much as you want in database. They're stored in database. But when you have additional CSS or JavaScript libraries which should work, especially with this DCE, you have to put them in file admin, and you have to link them manually and add them manually in TypoScript. And this is a bit the thought of the themes functionality, which is currently in development for Typo3 itself. Yeah, and I would like to rewrite this very easy, you have seen it, this very easy backend module to make it much more fancier with more JavaScript and more possibilities, of course. Your major version will be version 1.0. Maybe I skip this and make directly 2.0. Currently, we have 0.8. This new major version will not have any more support of Typo3 4x, and therefore I am able to change everything in this extension like Typo3 did with 6.0. Yeah, of course, everything becomes better, especially the code quality and the readability, and maybe later I'm writing unit tests for some for the extension to increase the quality again. Bye-bye flex forms. I said it recently. Currently all entered contents are stored as nested XML, flex form XML, in TT content column PI flex forms. This is not really beautiful. Especially it makes it impossible to get some of these entered informations with, for example, MySQL queries or from other extensions. You have also parse all XML data. XML data. This is not very good. The plan is, in the new version, to create own tables for each DCE yeah, and for each section which you use inside of DCEs. And each table will get properties like you defined them in backend. I would like to fake the TCA fields. Also, I would like to extend TT content with the new entered fields in DCE, and would like to fake them with a small after-save hook. I will store them not in TT content tables itself. They will be stored in the new created table, because I think TT content has enough columns currently, and I would like to add for each DCE and each property a new column in TT content. This change from flex forms to TCA enables us to use palettes and inline fields, which were not available. Also in Template 3.6, inline fields are also available in flex forms, but in Template 3.4.5, they wasn't. Inline fields will be used then for section fields. And sometimes the behavior of flex forms are not, it's not the same like in TCA forms. There are some bugs, like recently I found, I've got a reported bug that the evaluation of input fields does not work like the way in TCA. Yeah, I would like to see a DCE as package. I would like to store all informations you have entered file-based, so you are you're able to export it and deploy it and reuse it in other projects. For example, the field configuration or additional files, yeah. Probably, maybe I will create a public DCE repository where you can publish your own DCEs with all CSS, with all JavaScript, for example, a cool slide share, whatever element, and yeah, you're able to like extensions to get them. I would like to make it compatible with the Template 3 themes thing, which is currently under development. So if you install a new theme, which has a super cool feature, you can deploy this with DCE, for example, maybe. And yeah, an easier export. Yeah, the fancy backend module would give us the possibility to use JavaScript, to use drag and drop functionality, to make it a little bit better than the Template 3 standard forms give. Than the Template 3 standard forms works now. Yeah, you see, I can create new fields and stuff like that, but it has always to reload when I change something, and this is not very comfortable for the developer or the integrator to create new DCEs, and for especially very complex DCEs. Yeah, when you create or when you add a new field, this must be also updated in the database. This will be done by the fancy backend module and an import-export of these packages, these DCE packages. A small roadmap with a small schedule. Version 1, I would like to finish it at the beginning of 2014, and which contains this DCE packaging functionality, this TCA instead flex forms thing, and this new backend module. In version 1.1, maybe in the middle of the next year, I would also like to publish a migration tool from older instances. So yeah, if you use the current version and want to update to the new one, this migration tool will help you. And of course, the documentation. Many people ask me, Armin, where do I find the documentation? Or at least a small tutorial, maybe a video tutorial. It's not existing, shame on me. It's much work to develop it and to keep it up to date, to fix bugs. And I knew that I would like to rewrite this whole extension, so I think documentation currently does not make sense. Yeah, and maybe end of the next year or the year after unit tests. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions, I think the time now is almost over. I'm still here, and you can ask me personally. Yeah, then thanks for your attention. And